The cleaning room smelled like metal and old soap. Ken had just finished scrubbing the holding cell floors when the guard shouted his name. "Ken, you're on washing duty. Bring the hose and gloves. They just dropped off a dirty one." Ken sighed. He was used to cleaning blood and alien waste, but today felt different. The way the guards whispered made his skin itch. They led him to a steel cage near the back of the compound. It was locked tight, covered with black tarps. When the guard pulled the tarp away, the smell hit Ken's face like a slap. Rotten food, mud, and something worse, burnt flesh. Inside the cage, curled in the corner like a broken animal, was a girl. Thin arms, chained ankles, and dirty skin. She looked like a skeleton wrapped in grime. Her hair was tangled with dried leaves, and her clothes were torn. It was hard to tell if she was even alive. "Human?" Ken asked. The guard laughed. "Nah, one of those weird glowing species, a Varelian or something. Thought they were extinct. Look at her now. Trash." Ken stepped closer. Her back was covered in bruises. Dried blood clung to her ribs. Her breathing was weak, but still there. One of her glowing eyes opened just a little and looked at him. "Take her to the wash bay," the guard said. "Get her clean. She's gonna be sold in 3 days. And don't get soft. She ain't your pet." Ken said nothing. He unlocked the cage, slipped on his gloves, and helped the girl to her feet. She didn't resist. Her body was freezing. She didn't weigh more than a child. As he supported her down the hallway, workers stared. Some laughed. One spat at the floor. Ken tried to ignore them. He reached the wash bay, a room made for hosing down prisoners. Cold metal walls, a drain in the center, and a single stool. He helped the girl sit down. She didn't speak. She just looked at him with those strange glowing eyes, one blue, one gold. Faint, but still glowing under all the dirt. Ken filled a bucket with warm water. He didn't want to use the hose yet. He dipped a cloth in and gently wiped her arms. The dirt came off in thick chunks. Under the layers of grime, her skin looked smooth, too smooth, almost like soft glass, and it shimmered faintly, like moonlight on water. Ken paused. "What are you?" She didn't reply. He kept washing. The more he cleaned, the brighter she seemed. Her skin wasn't just pale, it was luminous. Faint lines of light glowed under her arms, around her collarbone, across her back like living tattoos. He washed her hair slowly, careful not to hurt her. It turned out to be silver, not brown. Long, soft strands that glowed just like her skin. She shivered, but still didn't speak. He noticed a burn mark near her neck, something like a brand, a symbol he didn't recognize. His chest tightened. She's been through hell, he thought. After an hour of careful cleaning, she looked like a completely different being. Not dirty, not broken. Beautiful in a strange alien way. Not in a romantic sense yet, but in a way that made Ken feel like she didn't belong in this cruel place. Ken grabbed a blanket from the supply locker and wrapped it around her. She held it tight and looked into his eyes again. "You okay?" he asked softly. She blinked. Then her lips moved just a little. "N," she whispered. His breath caught. "You know my name." She gave a tiny nod. Ken stepped back, stunned. No one told her his name. No one said it in front of her. The door slammed open. The guard peeked in. "She clean yet?" Ken quickly nodded. "Yeah, she's clean." The guard grunted. "Good. She goes in the holding tank tomorrow. Some buyers coming to look at her." Ken turned back to her. Her body glowed faintly under the blanket. He saw fear in her eyes. As the guard left, Ken leaned close and whispered, "I won't let them hurt you again. I promise." The girl didn't reply, but a small shimmer spread across her cheeks, like stars behind fog. That night, as Ken walked back to his quarters, he couldn't stop thinking about her. The way she looked at him, the way she said his name, and the way her skin glowed, not from sickness or fear, but from something else. Something he didn't understand yet, but he would. He had to. Because for the first time since he took this job, Ken didn't just feel like a cleaner. He felt like a protector. The moment Ken turned on the hot water, the steam filled the washroom like a soft cloud. The alien girl sat on the stool, motionless, wrapped in the blanket he had given her earlier. Her silver hair was damp now, resting over her shoulders. Her eyes followed Ken with quiet curiosity. But something strange happened when the first drops of water touched her bare arms. The skin didn't just get wet, it glowed brighter. It started at her fingertips, gentle pulses of light moving like waves under her skin. Ken froze, cloth in hand, eyes wide. He had seen strange creatures before, but nothing like this. Her skin looked like glass filled with starlight. Not only did she shimmer, she responded to the warmth, as if the heat woke something inside her. Ken bent closer and whispered, "Is this normal for your kind?" The girl blinked slowly. Then, she raised one glowing hand and placed it over his. Her fingers were cold, but under the glow, they trembled like she was still afraid. He noticed something new where his skin touched hers. The glow moved toward him. "Wait," he said. "Are you ... sharing it?" She didn't answer, but the light continued to spread, running up her arm and lighting the water like golden ink. The cameras in the ceiling sparked. One made a loud popping sound. Then, the lights flickered and died. The washroom went dark for 3 full seconds. The only light left was her dot, just her. Her body glowed like a lantern in the dark. Ken stood still, heart pounding, eyes locked on the girl when the backup lights clicked on. The glow dimmed but didn't go away. The door burst open. The same guard from earlier stepped in and shouted, "What the hell just happened?" Ken turned quickly and stood in front of her. Old wiring, maybe? This sector's full of glitches. The guard narrowed his eyes, then glanced at the girl. She was sitting perfectly still again, the blanket hiding most of her light. Only a faint shimmer escaped through the fibers. The guard sniffed the air and scratched his chin. "Don't overdo it. She's not your pet. Clean her up, then get out." Ken nodded. "I will." As the guard left, Ken locked the door behind him and exhaled. Hardy turned back to her. "You didn't do that on purpose, right?" She tilted her head, then shook it slowly, but her eyes held something deeper, like she understood what had just happened. Ken finished the bath more carefully this time, using a softer cloth and gentle emotions. He washed her legs, her arms, her back, under all the grime. Her skin was flawless, not a single mark except for the strange burn near her neck when he touched the burn. She flinched. "Sorry," he whispered, her eyes softened. She didn't speak, but she placed her hand over his and held it there. Ken realized something in that moment. This girl, this strange glowing being, was scared. Not dangerous, not wild, just scared, and maybe lonely. He dried her off with a warm cloth, then helped her into a clean oversized shirt from the supply shelf. It hung loose on her thin frame, but it covered her glow enough to keep her safe. As she stood up, wrapped in warmth, she looked like something out of a dream. Her skin shimmered gently under the fabric, like moonlight trapped beneath cotton. Ken handed her a bottle of water. She drank slowly, carefully. Every movement was graceful, like she wasn't used to moving freely. When she was done, she looked up at him again. Her lips moved, barely forming a word. "Why? Help." Ken blinked. You can talk." She nodded slowly. Little hard. But yes. Her voice was soft, almost musical, like wind chimes in the distance. "I help," Ken said, kneeling beside her, "because no one else will." She looked confused. "No hit." Ken shook his head. "Never. No cell." He hesitated, then said, "Not if I can stop it." The girl stepped forward and did something that shocked him. She touched his cheek, gently, just one finger, and for a brief second, Ken saw something in his mind, a memory that wasn't his. Fire, running screams, then a cage slamming shut. He gasped and stepped back. "You showed me something," he said. She lowered her hand. "Sorry. No, it's okay. You were showing me your past." She nodded. Ken stared at her in silence. This wasn't just some alien. She was intelligent. She could speak. She could share memories. And she glowed with a beauty that made his heart ache. He stepped closer and whispered, "I won't let them take you." Her eyes widened. Her glow brightened again. Ken looked at the broken camera and the backup lights, flickering above. They had to be careful now. Someone would notice soon, and if they did, everything would change. Ken froze when he saw the red light blinking above the door. The main camera was recording again. He moved fast, grabbed an old maintenance coat from the hook and threw it over the alien girl. Her glow vanished under the thick brown fabric. The coat was too big for her. It almost dragged on the floor, but it hid her light. She looked up at him, confused. "Hide your shine," Ken whispered. "They can't know." He didn't have time to explain. The facility was full of watchers, people who loved to report secrets for rewards. If they found out what this girl could do, glow, speak, share memories, they'd cut her open before dawn. "Follow me," he said softly, peeking into the hallway. 2 guards walked by. They didn't stop. Ken held her hand and led her through the lower halls, avoiding cameras and patrol routes. He wasn't supposed to be here after hours, but janitors moved around a lot, and most people ignored them. She walked quietly beside him, her bare feet soft on the metal floor. Even though she didn't say anything, Ken could feel her trust growing. He reached a locked door labeled Storage B13. He swiped his cleaning card. The light blinked green. Inside was a small supply room filled with old tools, rags, and unused equipment, a perfect hiding place. He sat her down on a folded blanket and pulled the coat tighter around her shoulders. "You have to stay here," he said. "Just for tonight. I'll bring food and water later." She reached for his hand. "You come back." Ken nodded. "I promise." She gave him a weak smile. It was the first time he'd seen her smile at all. He stepped back, closed the door, slowly, and made sure the lock clicked. Then he turned and nearly ran into someone. It was Rook, another janitor. Rook squinted. "What were you doing in storage this late?" Ken tried to keep his voice calm, just checking if any clean blankets were left. Rook leaned close, eyes sharp. "You look nervous." "I'm tired." Rook gave a half smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You know, Ken," he said, "people who hide things around here don't last long." Ken forced a laugh. "I'm not hiding anything." Rook walked off without another word. Ken knew this wasn't good. Rook had a reputation for selling secrets. He needed to be careful now, very careful. That night, in his bunk, Ken couldn't sleep. His mind kept going back to her, the way her light danced under her skin, the way she said, "Why help?" The memory she showed him fire screams, a cage she had been hunted, captured, burned, and yet she still looked at him with soft eyes. Ken got up before dawn. He grabbed leftover food from the cafeteria and slipped into storage B-13. She was awake, sitting with her knees hugged to her chest. Her glow was dim, now like a nightlight in the dark. I brought this, Ken whispered, handing her the food. She took it carefully and ate slowly, almost shyly. Thank you, she said. You're welcome. Do you have a name? She paused. Not one. In your words, can I call you something? She tilted her head. What name? Ken thought for a second, then said, Luma. It means light. She blinked, then smiled again. Luma, she repeated. Suddenly, her skin pulsed with soft light, just for a moment, then faded. Ken's heart beat faster. You really like it? Yes, she said softly. It's mine now. Just then, the hallway outside echoed with footsteps. Ken rushed to the door and peeked through the crack. 2 officers. And Rook, they stopped nearby. I saw him near this room last night. Rook said something's off. Ken's breath caught. He turned to Luma. Stay quiet. Don't move. She nodded and curled under the blanket again, pulling the coat over her entire body. No light escaped. Ken stepped outside, pretending to sweep. The officers stopped him. You been here all morning? One asked. Ken nodded. Yes, sir. Just cleaning floors were sticky. The officer looked at Rook. Rook stared at Ken's face, eyes full of suspicion. Finally, the officer grunted. Keep it that way. They walked off. Ken waited until the hallway was silent again before going back in. Luma looked up from under the coat. You okay? She asked. Ken nodded, but his hands were shaking. They're getting suspicious. He whispered. We need a better place to hide you. She reached for his hand again, and for the second time, Ken felt that strange warmth move into him. It was like her light didn't just glow, it cared, it healed, it trusted. Ken had only come here to clean, but now he was keeping a secret that could get him killed, and still he knew he'd protect her, because she wasn't just some glowing alien girl, she was Luma, and her light was the only good thing in this dark place. Ken was dreaming of fire, not flames from war or machines, but soft glowing fire, blue, gold and silver, dancing like it had a heartbeat. The light didn't burn, it wrapped around him, pulled him forward, and whispered one word. Ken. He snapped awake, gasping. The sound was real. Someone had spoken his name, but it wasn't like any voice he had heard before. It was gentle, a strange, full of music. He sat up in the dark room, heart racing. Ken, there it was again, softer now but close. He stood and rushed down the silent hallway, barefoot past the storage units and the flickering lights. Only one door mattered. Storage B-13. He opened it slowly. Luma sat in the corner, wrapped in the blanket, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Her skin shimmered just enough to see the outline of her face. You said my name, Ken whispered. She looked at him and nodded. Her lips moved again. Ken, his chest tightened. You ... learned my name, you remembered. Luma placed her hand gently over her heart. Safe. What? You ... feel safe. Ken crouched beside her, trying not to let his voice shake. You're learning fast. How are you doing this? Luma paused. Then she touched his arm. Again the strange warmth passed between them. Her glow moved with her thoughts. Pictures formed in Ken's mind, not clear ones, but shapes, colors, feelings. He saw her sitting with others who glowed like her. He saw laughter, singing, harmony, then fireships, men in armor, screams and cages. He saw her dragged from her. People. The connection ended. Ken blinked away the pain in his chest. You were taken and now you're alone. Luma nodded once. Her voice shook. They hurt my sisters. Ken looked down. He couldn't fix what had been done to her, but he could protect her now. He stood and held out a clean shirt and pants he'd stolen from the laundry unit. These are for you. They'll hide the glow. She took them and slowly changed behind a shelf. When she stepped out, dressed in human clothes, something strange happened. The glow under her skin dimmed almost completely, but her eyes were brighter than ever. Ken stared for a moment, then shook himself. We can't keep hiding here, he said. Someone's watching me. I think that janitor Rook reported something. Luma touched her fingers to her lips. Bad man. Ken nodded. Very bad. Just then, the door clicked open. Ken turned fast, but it was Marla, a young human engineer who sometimes brought him extra food. She stared at Luma, eyes wide. What is this? Ken stepped in front. She's not dangerous. Marla didn't scream instead. She stepped inside and shut the door behind her. Varelian, she whispered. Ken nodded. Her name is Luma. She's not like the others think. She's smart. She talks. She learns fast. Luma lowered her head, nervous. Marla stared at the glowing skin on Luma's wrist. I've read about them. They're supposed to be healers. Their bodies can turn pain into energy. But the government claimed they all died 10 years ago. She survived, Ken said. Marla looked between them. You want to help her escape, don't you? Ken didn't answer. You're crazy, Marla whispered, but maybe not wrong. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a keycard. This opens the lower vent gates. It's old access, not on the security grid. If you're serious, this is your chance. Ken took the card, stunned. Why are you helping us? Marla looked at Luma. Because we humans destroy everything beautiful. Maybe saving one thing will make it right. She turned and left. Ken stared at the keycard in his hand. He turned to Luma. We're getting out of here tonight. She didn't smile. She didn't speak, but her body glowed brighter, like hope had returned. Later, as Ken and Luma moved quietly through the maintenance shafts, she placed her hand on his again. Ken. Why? Risky looked at her. Because you said my name. She didn't understand. Ken smiled softly. No one's ever said it like that. Not with light, not with meaning. You're not just a task. You're not a prisoner. You're someone worth saving. Luma's glow lit the dark tunnel around them, and in that silent moment, Ken knew he wasn't just running from danger. He was running towards something beautiful. The message was hidden under the food tray. Ken found it when he came to bring Luma her morning meal. It was written on torn paper, in shaky handwriting, just 4 words. They will take me. His breath stopped. He looked at Luma, who sat quietly in the corner, her glow barely visible under her new clothes. Her eyes told him everything she knew. The danger was close. Who gave you this? Ken whispered, holding the paper tightly. Luma lowered her head. Man in gray, he smiled. But his thoughts were black. Ken swallowed hard. That could only be one person, Commander Drell, the buyer who came for rare aliens, especially ones with unusual abilities. Drell didn't just buy them. He dissected them, sold their body parts. His lab was rumored to be cold, silent, and full of glowing jars. They're planning to take you tonight, aren't they? Ken asked. She nodded once. Ken turned, pacing the room. Time was up. The secret was leaking. Someone had told, maybe Rook, maybe someone else. They had to run now. He took out the stolen keycard Marla gave him. His hands were shaking. I know a way out, he said. Old tunnels, underground. It leads to the trash zone outside the walls. Luma stood, weak but ready. You... trust me. Ken stared into her glowing eyes. Yes, do you trust me? She placed her hand on his chest. Your light is kind. They had no weapons, no map, only a stolen card, a blanket, and hope. Ken opened the storage door carefully. The hallway was empty, too quiet. Follow close, he whispered. They moved quickly, hugging the shadows. Ken knew every blind spot, every broken camera. He had cleaned these halls for 3 years. Now, those boring details were keeping them alive. They reached the maintenance hatch. Ken swiped the card. Access denied. What? He whispered, swiping again. Access denied. Ken's heartbeat slammed in his ears. No, this worked yesterday. Footsteps echoed from the other hallway. Luma's glow brightened. Ken turned fast and shoved her behind some crates. Hide. From the corner, someone stepped out. Rook. He smiled wide. Did you really think you'd get out so easy? Ken clenched his fists. What do you want? Rook leaned against the wall. She's worth a lot. The moment I saw her, I knew you were hiding something shiny. The glowing skin gave it away. Ken stepped between Rook and the crates. I won't let you take her. Oh, I'm not taking her, Rook said, but I am telling Commander Drell he'll be here in minutes. I already sent the alert. Ken lunged, but Rook was ready. He pulled a stun stick from his belt and slammed it into Ken's side. Electricity shot through his ribs. Ken dropped to the floor. Groaning, Luma screamed, it not loud, but sharp, full of panic. She stepped from behind the crates, her skin glowing like fire. Rook blinked. What the hell? Suddenly, the light from her body flared. Not white, but gold and blue, swirling like a storm. Rook tried to lift the stun stick again, but it melted in his hand. He screamed. Luma raised both hands. Her glow wrapped around Rook's legs. The metal floor under him sparked. Rook fell, groaning, unable to move. Ken gasped from the floor. You used your light as a weapon. Luma dropped to her knees, exhausted. I only wanted peace, she said softly, but I will protect. Ken reached for her hand. We have to keep moving, he said, struggling to stand. Can you walk? She nodded. Together, they dragged Rook's body into the janitor closet and locked the door. Ken grabbed the keycard again, swiped it one more time. Access granted. The maintenance hatch clicked open. Ken looked back one last time. This place had been his prison for years. Now, he was leaving with the brightest thing he'd ever known. They climbed into the dark tunnel, the air damp and cold. Pipes rattled above them. Luma held his hand tightly, her glow lighting the narrow path. Ahead was freedom. But behind them, sirens began to scream. Ken turned to her. They know. Luma didn't look afraid. She whispered, then we run faster. Asterisk sirens pounded through the steel maze as Ken and Luma raced down the narrow service shaft. Every alarm pulse made the metal walls tremble, scattering dust into the air. Ken kept one hand on the rail ladder, the other gripping Luma's fingers while she lit their way with a faint, steady shimmer. A fork appeared ahead, one rung up to an exit hatch, the other plunging into deeper blackness. Bootsteps clanged, above close and angry. Ken hesitated. Up leads to guards, Luma whispered. Go down. Shadows will hide us. Ken swung onto the lower rungs. Grease coated the metal. His shoe slipped, and a snapped bracket sliced across his ribs. Hot pain stole his breath, but he forced himself to keep climbing until the ladder ended at an abandoned freight conduit. Dim orange bulbs flickered overhead. An old maintenance tram sat on rusted rails, its control panel half broken. Ken staggered to it with blood seeping through his shirt. Luma caught his arm. "You were hurt," she said, voice shaking. "It's nothing," he lied, though black dots danced in his vision. From the ladder tunnel came order chute on sight. They had seconds. Ken pushed the tram starter. The engine sputtered but failed. A wave of dizziness bent him to his knees. Blood dripped onto the floor, bright under Luma's glow. She knelt and pressed both palms against his wound. Light blossomed from her skin, blue at first, then gold spreading like liquid sunrise across his chest. Heat flooded him, warm but gentle, knitting torn flesh. Ken gasped as the agony ebbed into tingling warmth. When the light faded, only a faint scar remained. Luma swayed, her glow dimming. "Share, not drain," she whispered, breath short. "Your pain becomes light for us both." Boots hit the conduit entrance. Blaster beams hissed, melting holes in the tram shell. Ken scooped Luma into the cab, smashed the starter again, and felt the engine roar. Metal wheels shrieked as the tram shot forward, sparks trailing behind. Energy bolts chased them down the rails, striking the walls in showers of fire. Ken ducked low, shielding Luma. The conduit twisted left then right, and the screaming alarms faded into wind. Minutes later, the track burst into the open night beyond the city wall. Cold air rushed past, carrying the scent of dust and distant flowers. Below, the scrap valley stretched, heaps of rusted ships and broken machines glowing under a moonlit sky. Ken eased the throttle. Far behind, no lights followed. He guided the tram to a maintenance ladder that descended to an abandoned watchtower rising from the junk field. Together they climbed down and limped inside. The tower room was small, roof half gone, windows cracked, old blankets lay in a corner. Ken settled Luma on the softest pile and searched a locker, miraculously finding sealed water bottles. He pressed one into her hands. She drank slowly. Her face looked pale, glow faint but steady. "You are healed," she said, touching the smooth scar on his ribs. "I owe you my life." He knelt beside her. "Does healing hurt you?" She answered with a tired smile. "It buzzes inside bones like music. Joy when shared with a friend." Outside, distant sirens kept wailing inside the wall, but no patrol lights reached the valley yet. Ken studied the dark horizon. Past the ridge flowed a river with smuggler barges that left at dawn. If they reached it before sunrise, they could hide on a cargo deck and slip offward. He laid out the plan in simple steps: cross Scrap Valley, follow drainage ditch to the ridge, move by moonlight only. Luma listened, then placed her hand over his heart. Warmth spread through him again, not healing this time but calm. "Your light is kind," she said. "Together we make brighter light." Ken covered her hand with his own. For the first time since childhood, he felt hope stronger than fear. He glanced up at the roof, where a square of stars blinked through broken metal beams. Wind-carried voices across the junk piles, orders barked through amplifiers, scanners humming. Commander Drell had arrived, leading hunters with drones tuned to Luma's unique energy signature. Ken heard the low whine of engines sweeping the valley. The night was far from over. He gathered the blankets into a crude pack, tucked water inside, and helped Luma stand. Her knees wobbled, but she steadied herself inside the circle of his arms. The gentle sheen under her skin brightened, fueled by determination. Ken looked toward the shattered doorway, the valley bathed in pale moonlight and roaming search beams. He tightened his grip on Luma's hand. "Ready?" he asked. Luma drew a deep breath. "Run with me, Ken. The sky is wide and fear is small." Together they stepped into the cool night, gliding between towering heaps of metal. Ken kept his gaze on the distant ridge, while behind them, drones dipped lower, sensors pulsing red. With every heartbeat, Ken felt the echo of Luma's light inside him, guiding his feet, steadying his will. They ran between broken engines, slipped under cracked wings, and splashed through puddles of starlight reflected in oil pools. Guards shouted somewhere far off, but the valley was a labyrinth, and Luma's cloaked glow under her jacket showed hidden gaps and safe shadows. Halfway across, a spotlight swept toward them. Ken pulled Luma beneath a toppled cargo pod. The beam lingered, then moved on. Above, sky and scrap merged in silver silence. Ken squeezed her hand. "We will make it." Luma's reply was soft, but filled with strength. "Our lights are one now." Their journey was only beginning, yet hope glowed brighter than any siren behind them. They rose, turned toward the ridge, and ran again to sparks, racing through ruins, toward the promise of dawn. The first hint of sunlight touched the scrap valley just as Ken and Luma reached the river ridge. Below, the dark water moved slow and quiet, broken by rusted pipes and half-sunken wreckage. A single cargo barge sat moored near the far shore, its engines humming softly. Ken dropped one knee, breathing hard. His legs ached, his shirt was torn, but they had made it this far. He looked at Lumadot. She was trembling. Her glow was almost gone, now just a faint shimmer in her fingertips. Her eyes were dull, her breathing weak. "You're burning out," Ken whispered, wrapping his arms around her. "You used too much light back there." Luma shook her head. "I gave what you needed, not more. You healed me. You blinded That patrol drone. You shielded me from a blast. That's not more Luma, she smiled gently. You would have done the same. Ken nodded once. Yeah, I would. I still will. They crept along the ridge path. Each step closer to the river brought new danger. Sensors buzzed in the sky. One wrong move, and searchlights would pin them down. Then the sound came: heavy engines, thrusters winding up. Commander Drell's gunship. It rose from behind the factory ruins, dark and massive, its searchlight sweeping wide. It aimed for the ridge. Ken grabbed Luma's hand. Now they ran. Metal clanged under their boots as they sprinted downhill, the gunship closing in. Searchlights snapped toward them. A warning siren howled through the cold morning air. The cargo barge was just a few dozen steps away. Blast of fire tore through the ground near Ken's feet. Sparks exploded from the rocks. He shielded Luma with his body and kept running. The barge cargo master, a grizzled old alien, stood at the ramp. His eyes went wide when he saw Luma glowing faintly beneath her jacket. You're bringing trouble, he shouted. Ken didn't stop. Please, she's dying, let us on. No glowing ones allowed. They bring fire. Ken stepped in front of Luma. Then take me. Just me. Let her live. The cargo master paused, looked at Luma's eyes. Saw the fear, saw the pain, saw how she clutched Ken's hand. He grunted. Fine, get in, fast. Just as Ken turned, blast shook the ridge. Drell's gunship descended hard, blocking their way. The ramp of the ship opened. And Drell stepped out. He was tall, in a black coat that swirled like smoke. His eyes were cold silver, and a scar ran from temple to chin. Behind him, a squad of armored hunters aimed their rifles. She's not yours to protect, Drell said, voice like metal. She belongs to the labs. You can't change what's already paid for. Ken pulled Luma behind him. She's not a thing. She's not a tool, and she doesn't belong to anyone. Drell raised a hand. I'll take you too, tear you apart. Study what makes you so loyal to her. Luma stepped forward. Her knees shook. Her glow was faint, but her voice was steady. You want my light? Drell smirked. Of course. Then take all of it, she said softly, before Ken could stop her. She pulled away from his arms and stepped into the open. Her body began to glow again, not softly, not weakly, but with a rising pulse of pure white fire. Her skin lit up like a second sun. Drell shouted. Stop her, but it was too late. A wave of blinding light exploded from her body, bursting out in every direction. The sky went white. The gunship engines coughed and died. The hunters dropped their weapons, clutching their eyes. Ken shielded his face. When the light faded, Luma collapsed to the ground. The glow was gone. She lay still. Ken ran to her, lifted her in his arms. No, Luma, come back. Stay with me, please. Her chest rose once. Then again her eyes fluttered open. No glow now, just soft color. I gave all I had, she whispered. Ken held her tightly. I didn't want light, he said. I just wanted you. The cargo master called out. We need to move now. Ken nodded and carried Luma up the ramp. The barge engines roared. They lifted off just as the gunship crumbled into smoke behind them. As the valley fell away, Luma rested her head against Ken's chest. No more cages, she asked. He smiled through tears. No more cages. The sky opened wide in front of them for the first time in her life. Luma was free, and in the arms of the human who saw her not as a tool, not as a trophy, but as someone worth saving. No matter the cost. Together they vanished into the stars, her glow now quiet, but her heart brighter than ever.